Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Moana King. It's June 23rd, 2025. Uh, this is music intro for Professor Jew. My presentation is going to be on the Ghanaian high life, which is a genre of music in the west coast of Africa. Um, but we're talking about Ghanaian high life. As you will see throughout the slide, we'll talk about other forms, but this is what we're going to focus on. Just to give a little history of Ghana, it's a republic in the West Coast, in the West African country in the Gulf of Guinea and Atlantic Ocean. So it's on the west coast of Africa. With nearly 35 million inhabitants, Ghana is the second most populous country in West Africa. Capital and largest city is Accra. Uh, there are a couple other cities that's known, including Tima, Kumasi, Sunyani, and Sekondi Takonandi. Could be wrong how I'm pronouncing it. Sorry, Ghanaians. But those are some of the cities. And just to give a kind of view of where Ghana is, it shares borders with Cote d'Ivoire to the west, Burkina Faso to the north, and Togo to the east. So just think of the west coast of Africa, and that's a little something. So continuing with the history of Ghana, it was controlled by colonial powers, including the Portuguese, the Dutch, and last was the British, which eventually Ghana did gain its independence and form an independent country of Great Britain in 1957. And its first prime minister was Kwame Nkrumah, and he served for about 7, 8 years. Um, you can check me on that one. So now we're going to go into the history, the music history, I should say, of high life, and just that whole genre itself. So it originated along the coastal cities of present-day Ghana in the 19th century. So it was around before Ghana was formed, um, but it was still there in the west coast of Africa. So keep that in mind as we go through with this presentation. It encompasses multiple local fusions of African metry and Western jazz melodies. And we'll hear some jazz later on while I introduce the pioneers. So just another thing to keep in mind as we go through this. Uh, some stylistic origin. So as we know, the style is more the melody, how you feeling it, that kind of thing. So it uses melodic and main rhythmic structure of traditional African music, but typically played with Western instruments. So that's kind of interesting. Like I said, as you're gonna see later on in a couple of the pioneers and their songs, you can hear traditional African music. And when I say that, I mean as far as the drums and just that. But then you also hear the instruments, and I think when they say Western, I think more or less the sax maybe, because like I said, we'll mention that later. So that's just a origin. Another one is characterized by again jazzy horns and guitars, which lead the band, and it's used of the two-finger plucking guitar style typical of African music, and we'll hear that again. So that's the style, um, the origin of it, and basically it's all African based in a sense, but you throw in the Western instruments, hence you get the jazzy horns. Um, so we'll continue with the stylistic origin. Palm wine music, which is just another form of the high life. So consider them brothers. They're in the same family, basically. Is a term for various 20th century music styles, hence the word various, combining local West African instruments with the portable ones of visiting seamen. And obviously, we said colonial powers had control over in that region, that area, West Coast Africa. So that's where you would get the seamen. Uh, and obviously it'll be coming from those colonial powers, those Dutch, those Brits, Portuguese. Some common instruments that came along with them traveling seamen would have been the concertina and the harmonica. Okay, so some more origins of the style of high life, right? Once it stemmed from colonialism and trading in West Africa, the regional styles of music. So it's an incorporation of a whole bunch, but the main focus and the base of it is African music. Um, West African music to be specific, because Africa is a continent. So there's just that region of Africa. So after World War II, it grew in popularity, especially amongst the Igbo people of Nigeria. Um, and they formed their own version of it, forming Igbo High Life. So everybody can have an attachment to High Life, but what counts is what it stands for in its African unity. For me, that's just my opinion. So that's a little origin of the style of High Life. Now we get to go into the fun part. Um, so excuse the ads. Hopefully you guys can skip after this recording, but whatever reason I can't. Um, but so is Carnal Rex Lawson. He was a singer, trumpeter, and a band leader from Buma in present state Niger. Um, but just leave it alone and let this nonsense do what it does. Um, really wish you guys could hear the song, but you're gonna hear more of this commercial. So the song is Jolly Papa, and because this happened, I'm just gonna. Uh, well, I think you guys would be able to skip if you're watching it uh, to show how this converts. That was that song, so we'll just skip that one, and we'll try to go to this one, and maybe this one will come in better and quicker. Um, Not too sure. So this one is called Swally. This one is gonna have you're gonna hear that alto sax. So once again, Cardinal Rex. One of the things he was famed for was his infectious gregariousness, his musical vision, talent, perseverance, and individuality. Um, Most high life bands use the trumpet to play the leading role in the music, but Lawson frequently used the alto sax in his solo. And when it comes to this, you should be. Well, I know I heard the sax. Um, guess it would be the alto sax. So this song, and sorry for the ads, all that extra stuff, is called Swale. Um, and let's say it real quick. But you can hear it. You hear that African drums. And here we go with the alto sax. So I thought that was important in that little piece that I want to throw in there with this slide, uh, with this presentation, I should say. So we can hear the first song. But maybe you guys could hear it when you actually play this presentation. So just want you guys to hear that. So once again, this song is called Starlight. So that's my first pioneer. Um, I'm gonna go into the second pioneer, which is gonna be E.T. Mensah. Um, he was a Ghanaian musician who was regarded as the king of highlife. That's why I find this kind of important because, I mean, to get that name with a whole bunch of other people, that means something. So this is one of his songs, Gone of Freedom. He led a band called the Tempos, which is a band that toured throughout West Africa, big heavy band with high life. Think about him, he learned to play the flute at 12, and in 1932 began playing piccolo and flute. So that's kind of interesting. So we're just gonna hear a little. Personally, that sounds like a trombone, but I'm not going to say this. There has to be some type of sax. I wouldn't say or flutes, but you kind of hear it. So this is E.T. Mensah, Freedom. So this is one of his popular songs. Um, it's going to be all for you. Um, so so this is kind of important for him, E.T. Mensah, not E.T. the alien. But his early education took place at the government school. So let that sink in. Um, in Accra, which is the capital, and later Accra High School. So he went to a primary school, a prep school, middle school, elementary school. Um, Mentioned his older brother Yuba formed the Accra Rhythmic Orchestra in 1939. So he formed some type of government band, basically orchestra. So this song is all for you, and as you can hear the. Oh, I see the sax right there. Yeah. So that's his song, and that's E.T. Mensah. Okay. And then we're gonna go to our last pioneer. This is Victor Ifusa Uefo. Um, so this song is called Guitar Boy because he did a lot. He used a lot of the guitars as High Life has. That's the main thing. But he was a Nigerian musician, writer, sculptor, and musical instrument maker. Recorded under the stage name Victor Uefa and his Titty Bitty Spirits. I don't know, but because so you can hear the guitar. Why it's called Guitar Boy. I mean, then you hear the drums, so you kind of hear, they are pretty much similar. I mean, not the words maybe, but the rhythm and the style and the melody definitely would say have some type of similarity in that sense. Um, so that's his first song, Guitar Boy. Keep in mind he's important. This guy, why he's important. This is going to be why. Um, this song right here, Jerome, was the first song to go gold, right? First song to go gold in Africa, in 1965. Um, Jerome. The federal government of Nigeria, in appreciation of his talents and contribution to Nigeria, honored him with the National Honors Merit Award in 1983. So that's a high regard of somebody in a country. So like that. So shout out to E.T. Mensah. You say E.T., but no, I'm sorry, E.T. This is Victor. Um, Sorry, Victor. This is Victor. I messed up on that. I'm gonna go back and do it on that. But you get the point of it. This is Jerome, first gold in '65, and this is from Victor. Um, I hear the plucking, the two-tone plucking, how we talked about that earlier. I kind of hear that. Now you hear the little jazz rhythm. So that's Victor and his song Jerome that went gold. Okay. Uh, Now we just past and present, right? In the past, Ghanaian high life music, it's evolved and it's still evolving over time. So one of these, the new wave of high life is called hip life, right? So one of the big artists is King Paluta. This is going to be a song, Makuma. Um, and you can hear the new twist to it, but it has the same rhythm and style, right? Uh, So it's transitioned from its early brass band and palm wine music forms to incorporate influences from jazz, swing, and other global sounds. So global sounds, we can hear that little techno type of thing going on in this. It has remained a cornerstone for Ghanaian music. We're talking about high life, the genre music type, inspiring subsequent genres. Here we go with hip life. So obviously it's not the same, but you can kind of, I think you can kind of understand. So actually, I thought it was a cool song. So that was King Paluta, and the song is called Makuma. Okay, so that was a look at we started off in the past, we finished off with the present with King Paluta, and this version of High Life is called Hip Life, but you understand, goes hand in hand. Uh, so to end off the slide, we're going to end off with some fun facts. Ghana was the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence and colonial rule. That's cool. Shout out to Ghana, right? The name Ghana is derived from the Soninke language and means warrior king. That I never knew. Uh, so that's good to know. And now I know something new. Hopefully you guys know something new. The independence one, I did know that. So that doesn't. This is another good tidbit, right? Ghana is home to over 70. Check that out. 70 ethnic groups, each with its own distinct language and customs. That must be difficult to communicate. I mean, I can imagine the public schools, but the official language is English. So I don't know how that works. I've never been to Ghana, um, but that was my presentation on Ghanaian high life. Hopefully, you guys learned something today. I had fun doing it. Hope you have fun watching it and listening to it. Thank you.